They won, right? I didn't imagine that.
Yeah, it's real. We have 3 points. We're not going to lose every game this year.
Yeah.
The losing streak is over.
Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast for fans of Chicago Stars FC and a community for everyone. I am your host, LT.
And I am your co-host Liz.
Sweet relief.
Finally, finally, we did it.
The what I believe is an 8-game losing streak dating back to last season in the playoffs is over. The Chicago Stars won against Bay FC 2-1. Um, Not entirely expected sort of going into this. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect like a blowout like the Orlando match or something. I expected obviously more close to Houston or Louisville's matches. Close, but still not um, well run, well managed. Um, the strategy worked. The two goals from Ludmila in the 5th minute and the 41st minute, first goals of the season for her. She finally got out of her little slump to begin the season. And the first brace that the Chicago Stars have seen since Ava Cooks back in 2023. So something to be excited about. They're 3 points, 12th on the table now, not last. I'll still a whole bunch of stuff to improve on. But whatever the game plan was today worked.
A win is a win is a win. That's where I'm at. Um, I This was the Ludmila that we all know and we all love. And this is maybe she just needs to go every international break and go play for whatever team is playing the US because she just does really well after she plays the US. Like she just comes back and plays well. Um, but yeah, like what a start. 5 minutes in, get a goal. Like great way to start the game. I was impressed by what she did to that back line. Abby Dahlkemper was just having fits back there. That's just having fits. Um, but yeah, they're statistically not pretty, like
No.
at all. Not at all. But they won. It's unfortunate that we gave up a penalty kick. It would have been nice to get the clean sheet. But midfield, I feel like there was improvement there. Obviously, a lot more improvement. We'd love to see more improvement there, but there was improvement. Tactically, that is not going to work against most teams, but it did today. So we will take the win. We will be positive about it. And I'm excited because now we don't have to have all the doom and gloom of we're not going to win a game all year.
They're just gonna lose all but one.
Hey,
No.
that's fine. I have 3 points. There were people saying we weren't going to win at all. So
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm still not satisfied. But we talked about this with the community prior to the match. You posed a good question about if they actually won, would we be happier about um, the season? And my response was I'd be happy that they won, but it needs to like there's so much more that needs to happen than just a win. I think a win gives the players a lot of confidence. I'm sure getting smacked 6-0 in the very beginning of the season did not do a lot for their confidence. And then, we see in that Houston match that they do take the early lead and then lose it immediately. That doesn't help the confidence either. And just a lot of factors sort of going into this to each match and all these different parts of the season are just they haven't worked out for Chicago, but um, to see Ludmila sort of back in her form, I don't know what Brazil's training is like, but it seems to do wonders for her fitness and her confidence. And I think even Mies getting both of those assists on those Ludmila goals was excellent for her. She didn't have, I think, the greatest match that she's ever had, but in the moments where she needed to show up, she did with those passes. And Ludmila was just a killer, an absolute killer. Um, just making Bay's back line, specifically Abby, look foolish. The first goal, uh, like watching her just like bend back into the field of play to try to get the ball that she assumed Ludmila would uh, shoot to the left side of her, and she ended up shooting it to her right side. Perfect ball, beautiful goal, beautiful backflip, round off backflip, whatever it was that Ludmila did. Incredible. Of course, that gets hampered by the VAR offside call that eventually goes in Chicago's way, and they get the goal. And then that second goal, just another great pass by Mies into Ludmila, and then her just doing her little fancy footwork and getting another goal. So um, those obviously were the bright spots offensively. There really wasn't a whole lot else that was a bright spot offensively. Very few corner kicks. The corner kick that they did get was both were poorly taken. Just yeah, not a whole lot of positives. The front line looked absolutely tired near the end, and there were not many um, substitutions that needed to happen early enough. So they all sort of looked gassed. So like still a lot to improve on. I'm glad that Ludmila got to get those two goals in, just one away from matching her season total last year, even though she wasn't here for that long. Um, so that's good. It was nice to see the offense click between Mies and Ludmila. Now the rest of them just need to sort of get in on the games.
Yeah, I can't say enough about how smart it was on that first goal that Ludmila had. You have Abby Dahlkemper trying to cover an open goal, and she's clearly running towards the end line because that's where Ludmila's headed. And to have the thought of there's no way she's running, sprinting, that she can turn around and stop the ball if I place it behind her and towards the like essentially go far post with it kind of.
Yeah,
And it just that sort of IQ, like most people are just going to try and blast it because they're like, oh, it's an open net and they have to like perfectly get their body. No, play it behind them. So smart. Like I can't. I cannot get over how smart that was. And when I watch the replay, I'm just like, she did that on purpose. Like you can watch her like make that decision. And Dahlkemper's like flailing backwards trying to get it because her momentum, she's
yeah,
not going to be able to get to it. It's just so smart. And on the second goal, just she even kind of lets the ball kind of get stuck at her feet and she still gets a goal. Like that's just how talented she is. Like she'd had a little bit of a hiccup there with her footwork and still ended up placing the shot perfectly. Just a great goal. And I'm just really happy to see her get some goals, get some confidence. And also, we'd only scored one goal over the first three games, and now we have three in total.
yeah.
We doubled up on that. But looking at the stats, we only took nine shots all game.
Yep.
That's
Also
not
bad.
that's not good.
No.
And a 64% pass accuracy. Bad. Bad. Not good.
Yeah.
So, pros and cons. This was definitely a Chicago type stat line game. Um, but they got to win. I'm happy. It will build confidence in players. I agree we needed more subs. Ludmila was absolutely exhausted by the time she got taken out. She was taken out far too late. There were
Yeah.
multiple opportunities if somebody was that had more energy at the time in the game could have run onto balls. She just didn't have it. She was everywhere, but she gave it every ounce of energy she had, even in the waning minutes of the game before she was taken out. She was trying to defend, and she did end up getting a call on Kundan. I think it was on Kundananji. Um, and just she gave that game everything, and I loved it. I loved her effort. I also thought that Ali Schlegel had a really good game. I think that she was doing the whole I'm an offensive player that plays good defense type thing that we talked a lot about last year, where she was
Hmm.
clogging up a lot of spaces, and that sort of thing. I want more from her offensively. It's great that she plays defensively. I love that, but we know that she can be a goal scorer and that sort of thing. And I want to see more of that this season. And I agree, Jimmy's had some excellent passes in the game as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from sort of the central uh, offense defense that Chicago had was they were sort of letting Bay push the ball up uh, and allowing Chicago's like wing players like Mies and Julia for most of the match kind of put on the pressure in like on the sidelines, but only at times would you see like Ludmila or Ali rush to press the center backs. Most of the time, they were just sort of sitting back and covering off the passes into the midfield, which is why you saw a lot of passes down the flanks from Bay. They were going at Taylor a lot, Julia and Taylor a lot in this match down that right side, and um, and then Cam got had to defend a lot of balls in that left corner. So the middle was mostly well protected from the front line, and then working back from B to Maitani. And I think that was somewhat of a decent strategy. Obviously, classic Chicago, it loses them the possession battle by an astronomical amount. But it seemed very intentional that they were not just all four of their frontline players were they were not just going to rush and press. They were strategically pressing, which gave Bay fits at times, which allowed Chicago to get a few turnovers in their favors. They didn't do a whole lot with those turnovers. It was only the sort of midfield turnovers that allowed them to get their goals eventually, which was good. Um, so overall, I think the front line did their job. They won. They scored two goals, but there's still a lot that needs to be improved on um, from across the board from all of those players. When it comes to the midfield, what did you sort of see kind of coming into this? Sort of a new lineup in the midfield that we haven't seen before.
Well, I was confused because I was assuming that Maitani was going to play midfield, and then ESPN's like, "Oh, hey, no, she's going to play center back." I'm like, "No, she's probably not, but okay." So she played in the midfield.
Yeah,
Um,
as the lineup that was sent to media said.
yes. So, I think that I was very impressed by what I saw specifically from Maitani. I think that she brings an excellent defensive mind to the game. She likes to pressure players. She is very good at dispossessing players in the middle of the field. I just really liked what I saw. And I think that she really helped stabilize things. It wasn't perfect at all across the midfield. I still need more from Julia Grosso. I need her to get more involved. There were times where she was getting involved in the game, and I really enjoyed it. I just want to see more of it. And maybe when more confidence is gained, if Maitani continues to play in the midfield, maybe that confidence will be gained where Grosso feels like she can move further down the pitch and be more of an offensive minded player, which is what she should be doing. I think that B could have been a little bit more involved in the game. I thought that there were times where she was all over the field and then other times she kind of disappeared, but she's still learning and I feel like she's been yanked around a lot on the positions that she's been playing. So yeah, I liked the midfield more than I've liked them in many, many, many games. So I'm not saying they were good. I'm saying that they were better than what I've seen.
Yeah, I think having a veteran defensive midfielder like Maitani who can sort of control that part of the field without bailing onto the back line like we've seen a lot this season or playing too high up sort of allowed B to defend a little higher, which is sort of new for our midfield. I think I agree with you. Like B had a pretty rough first half. Um, and then I thought her second half was just a little better, especially her challenges um, against other players. It like offensively, she needed to be better. You mentioned Julia. I think she needed to be more involved offensively as well. She didn't do much. She made a couple of really nice passes, made a couple of nice turns, but a lot of those passes that were nice would like it not her fault at all. Like she would receive the ball, make a nice pass, and then it just wouldn't. Whoever would receive it wouldn't do anything with it. They wouldn't move it forward. They wouldn't. They didn't have anybody, any outlet to sort of pass it to either laterally um, or back. It would just sort of get stuck at their feet and perhaps a turnover. And yeah, so not entirely her fault. Her passing was not super great this match. I don't think anybody's really was. I'm used to Julia being like up in like the 80, 90 something percentile with her passing accuracy. And I think she was down in like the 60s or 50s. Like it was not super great.
She
But
was hanging out with the rest of the team.
yeah, she just wanted to be like the rest of them. Yeah, I think Maitani, I think, made all the difference in that midfield today. I hope that kind of continues. I think she deserves to get another crack at it. Her connection with B is obviously not there. I don't know how much those two have trained with each other, with Maitani being on the injured list to start the season, and then B sort of jumping focus between midfield and her new center back role that she was playing at the beginning of the season. So sort of splitting time in training there. I don't. I think they need a lot more time together to sort of get a feel for who's doing what and who's moving forward um, and I think sort of just being the veteran minds uh, that they have collectively, her and Sam, I think had a really good connection this match. There were a couple of times where Sam would move the ball forward with her feet, and Maitani would immediately switch places with her and drop into that center back position to allow Sam to move the ball forward instead of leaving that gap wide open. I'm sure, obviously, like their voices are being used to do that, but I think instinctually, I think both of them are just very smart veteran players who know where to fill um, when needed. But like I said at the beginning of this, I think watching Maitani just sort of control that space on the field without having to um, worry about what's happening behind her too much and not falling onto that back line and not getting too involved in the box and sort of staying at the top of the box where we see a lot of teams get shots off. She had a lot of really good challenges up there, and I think it made all the difference.
Yeah, I can't I was so impressed. I mean, this is her first start with Chicago. So that was really I was very impressed by what she brought to the table. Like we don't need a double pivot. Like she's got it. Like we can have midfielders actually be more offensive minded. That's a huge plus. And we saw glimpses of that in the game today where I feel like once there's more confidence in everybody and we're not in this, we have to bail out and run back mentality. I'm hoping that that continues. Next week they play Utah, so hopefully they can build on that because it's not going to be a team that is going to crush our souls like Orlando. So I'm hopefully, I probably just
Good
jinxed it.
clarification.
Probably just jinxed it. But I just think that it was really good to see. Yeah, and Sam Staub, more minutes out of her today, which was great.
$75, I think.
Yeah, I figured that we'd get more out of her since we had the international break, and just getting that fitness back. And sooner rather than later, you know that she's going to be getting to play full 90s, which is going to be huge. And yeah, I just really liked what I saw from the midfield finally doing something. The
Yeah.
bar is low, but they did something.
Yeah. I like the um pairing of Maitani and B. Obviously, I always think that B's height, no matter where you put her on the field, is especially useful for her skill in the air, winning those challenges in the air, those aerial duels and stuff. Having her play up a little higher because she is, even though she's been playing center back, been playing defensive mid, her mindset in her career of soccer has been goal, like get to the goal. And I'd like to see a lot more of her out of that from her. And so having Maitani get more comfortable as that lone defensive midfielder with help from B, but allowing B space and time to get forward and distribute the ball or receive the ball from more forward advancing players would be nice to see into the future. I don't know if this is the same lineup that they're going to keep or the same shape that they're going to keep, but I think today it worked, and I think it was. Uh, I know we've talked about Julia before um, playing in that front line, but the last time we saw her play on that front line was playing centrally on that front line. Um, this she was playing on the wing, which she's been doing for Canada the last several matches because of some injuries, and she's produced pretty well for Canada on that left wing. And you know that she has enough defensive skill to be able to um, play a little further back without having to worry too much. But she also needs to really push forward. If she's going to be playing left wing, she needs to play like a left winger. Chicago does not play with three forwards in the shape that they play. You don't see one player playing centrally and then two wingers. You see two people playing centrally, one winger on the right, and then Julia Grosso either playing further back or trying to distribute. She does not push as high up as a left winger really needs to push up, especially in that sort of formation. I really wish uh, she could get more opportunities to do that. Um, we'll see in the future if that comes to be that that midfield needs to really sort itself out even more. And like I said, I don't even know if come Utah time those three will even be the three that are selected in the midfield. So I'm not quite sure.
One would assume that if you have success, you might want to continue that, but you know what? I'm not one that likes to assume because we all know what assuming does.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just going to hope that we do something that continues us having success because it's nice to sit here and talk about positives and it not be us trying to make positives out of bad situations. Like we did actually score goals and we didn't possess the ball, but we did look better overall. I liked this grouping in the midfield. I do question some of the decisions on the back line personally. And we can get into that, I guess, because
Sure.
obviously when we were just talking about the midfield, we didn't mention Carrie Riccaro's name, who is normally she's a stalwart in that midfield. And she played at center back in this game alongside Sam Staub. And then you had Bogalski and Malum on the outside. And obviously Alyssa was on in goal. So just
What?
feel like they feel like we need to mention Alyssa because I always
That
mention
wasn't
the
Wood
keep.
back there? I didn't know. No.
She made some really good saves today, actually,
She did.
too.
She did.
Um, but yeah, I need Hannah Anderson. I need Hannah Anderson. I'm going to be blunt, I guess. I said this in the Discord and I will say it here. Carrie had a pretty good game today. But I just because Carrie is a veteran player does not to me mean that she should get more minutes or starts over Hannah Anderson, who has shown so much promise as a center back. And I believe that Hannah Anderson, when I say her, Hannah Anderson going out there and learning from Sam Staub and playing in these situations will only benefit us in the future. We don't extend a player like Hannah Anderson for her to come off the bench. We don't do that. That's not what you should be doing. And I get that Staub is not 100% fit, and people are saying, oh, well, they're benching Hannah so she can come in for Staub. No, there are multiple players that you could bring in
Or
to
shift.
or shift. I Carrie Recaro should not be paired with Sam Staub as our center back pairing for Chicago. That's where I'm at. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the back line once again had a lot to handle today. The Bay, even if they weren't at the top of their game, still put in a lot of pressure, a lot of pretty decent balls that got stopped or blocked or whatever. And um, the defense held up. It not we're used to Chicago's defense at times holding up until they break. Today they didn't break. The only goal that was scored was on a penalty kick from a handball in the box by Maitani Lopez, which was her lifting her arm out of the way to try to cover her face from not getting bashed in, and the ball happened to hit her hand. Sucks. It's PK. That's nothing you can do about it. Um, Beautifully taken PK by the rookie. So that was that was I don't want to talk too much about that, but
It was very good.
that was a hell of a PK. Alyssa was not going to get to that, but she guessed the right side, and that's really all you can ask from her. So the rest of the back line, I would say I think Carrie getting the start at center back worked out this time. Um, we've watched her last season play at center back a lot. It was helpful that you at least had a player who has a lot of it, well, not a lot, but a good amount of experience, more experience than a lot of players that were on the team last year at center back, like Carrie, to be able to at least do something on that back line with Hannah Anderson while Sam Staub was gone. I think she's better there than she is in the midfield. I would not want to see her at defensive mid um, for the rest of this season. I think either B or Maitani or I don't know. Like it feels a lot better. The midfield feels a lot better when she's not sort of playing between both midfield and the back line. Just keep her on the back line. Like if that's where she wants to drop to, um, just keep her there. You don't need to sacrifice a midfielder to put her out there. Um, but sacrificing Hannah for that though is a choice. My dream, if they're not going to play Hannah at center back, is still, and I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or if I've only said it to you, but
It's the Emily
when
Sams project.
but when Natu comes back and she moves to outside back, which will most likely be Cam getting benched, I would want Hannah moved to the outside in place of Taylor. I know that that then essentially puts, four players who can potentially play center back at, across the entire back line. But I would rather see Hannah on the field for 90 minutes than not. If you're going to play Carrie at center back, Hannah needs to be out there too. Like if it's going to be this, we Carrie needs to be on the field and we'll place her on the field wherever we see fit. I would also like that mentality for Hannah.
I agree.
I would like the mentality of let's put Hannah Anderson on the field, no matter where she needs to be. And I would love to have a left-footed Sam Staub and a left-footed Hannah Anderson on that left side. I think that would be very beneficial. And I think Hannah Anderson could easily move to an outside back role. If they're not going to play her at center back, I would prefer her at center back, especially when like you mentioned, extending a player for 3 years who proved herself at center back last season, filling in for one of the greatest center backs in this league. She needs to be at center back to learn from that greatest center back in this league. Like she needs to be there. If you want this player to develop, you can't be giving her, you know, 15 to 20 minutes a match. She needs to be next to Sam. I know Sam's recovering, and this idea of, you know, swapping her in, and so you're not losing that much talent there or that much experience there. But there's other things you can do. You can have them both out there and then take Sam out and shift Hannah over. Like it's not that hard. I don't understand it. So
I don't
that
know. I could rant about that for
I and I oh, and I
a
have
hot second.
I just
But
did.
I wanted to talk about the prospect of if you put Kuika, Staub, Recaro,
Hmm.
Anderson on the back line.
Hmm.
If you do that, there are some options there that are very intriguing because it would allow Kuika to get up the field more because you could essentially drop into a three back. And when Sam goes up to take throw-ins or free kicks, you can just have Hannah kind of slot into that back center back area and cover it better than another outside back would that doesn't have experience at center back. It would be a wonderful idea. I think it is genius. And also, it makes you more valuable when you can play multiple positions when you're looking at things like the national team. So I think that it would be great, especially as you said, if they insist on playing Carrie, which it seems like that is the plan. I would much rather her be on the back line. I agree, because she has been part of the problem of the midfield because she consistently drops back. And so if you're going to do that, just play on the back line, which is why I didn't understand when they started a few games this year where they had B playing center back and then Carrie playing midfield. I'm like, switch them, just switch them. Because
Because they're both going to be on the back line anyway.
yes, well, and also I think B might stay up higher
Yeah.
and Carrie was dropping back. So I'm like, just switch them. So they finally switched here. Like we got my Tawny and I like it.
Yeah.
I'm
Wasn't the
excited.
reason they won, but they won while this switch happened.
Yes.
And not only B moving into the defensive midfield, moving into like a left center midfield, which I think works for her and her mentality. Can drop back into a double pivot if necessary with Maitani, and then can also
Versatility.
move forward as any central midfielder is supposed to do. Like that's their job. Um, Control the game from the middle. And I think she can be a player that can do that. She needs a lot more playing time and a lot more experience with experienced players around her. Um, and I think Maitani and Julia can help her in that regard. It just all depends on how many minutes they give her there. If they totally change up this lineup again next week, I Like I'm pretty sure it's been a different lineup every single match this season. So it's gonna things
We
are gonna
don't know.
things are gonna be interesting to watch come Friday. But
And we don't
the
know when Queek is returning. That's the other
yeah
thing. That it could change things a lot.
yeah I mentioned last podcast that the 45 days I believe are up, or at least it's been 45 days since her injury. It's been more than 45 days since her injury. I don't know if getting put on that list, like I'm pretty sure it retroactively goes to when you got injured. So the 45 days are up. I don't know why she wouldn't be taken off of it. Um, but it should be soon. And if she is taken off of it, it's just like whether or not she's just still on the injured list, just not the 45 days. So they'll have to give up the roster relief contracts, but they don't have any roster relief contracts. They just have two short-term contracts. I don't know. It's a whole thing. uh, but yeah, so we don't know when she's going to come back. In her stead has been Cam and Justina. I think Cam had a rough first few matches of the season. This match, I think she did better. Uh, I think offensively, not super heavily involved as I'd like her to be. Defensively, I think she was, average. She gave what you expected from someone who can start in the NWSL at right back. I think she did her job. She did it well, and I'm glad that she recovered from the poor play that she had in those first few matches, and then um, also in her Kuika's stead had been Justina Gaynor, who had a pretty rough first match and then did pretty decent in her first start of her career. So um, when Kuika comes back, I don't know what happens to both of those players, but I think they've been doing an okay job uh, replacing her. And then Taylor, I still go back and forth with her because sometimes she does exactly what I expect out of her, and getting the ball forward and being a good offensive minded outside back. And then other times like this game today, I think she was really only in the other half like two or three times. Not it wasn't as much as I expected, but she also just did her job defensively. They really tried to push a lot at her in that first half, going at her constantly. They did, um, and they never scored on her, so that's good. Different, but good.
Yeah, I thought Cam had a pretty solid game. Probably should have cooled it a little bit. I had the yellow. Just didn't need to do that. Could have been a second yellow. Really probably should have been, but oh well, such is life. Apparently our right backs just like to get cards. It's kind of what I've decided because Gaynor did the same thing. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, I think that Cam had a way better game than what I've seen all year. I feel like this was her best game by far. I think we could probably say that about a vast majority of the players. I feel like they were really I think a lot of people had better games because I
It
don't want to say
depends on
that.
the aspect of the game you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, like I feel like defensively we had a very solid game.
Yeah.
And I think that Taylor definitely sometimes I feel she worries me because I feel like sometimes she's out of position. I feel like sometimes we don't get back as quickly as we should. But I think overall she had a really good game. Again, nobody got scored on. It was a penalty kick. I don't blame my Tawny for that at all. Like it happens. But yeah, so I think just defensively across the board, they were solid and it looked like everybody was communicating really well. And I will be interested if Kuika does return next week, what that does to the starting lineup. And again, if she starts, because I we don't know, like we don't
True.
know fitness level and anything like that either. So my guess is she probably wouldn't start, but who knows? It's hard to say
Yeah, we have no
because
information on
yeah.
her status really.
Because she
So
could be totally fit and she's just ready to go, and or
yeah,
she
she
could be
traveled with
not.
the
Yeah.
team. So
Speaking of, Ava Cook, um, it was announced this week that she was off the season-ending injury list from tearing her ACL last year, but did not dress. So that was interesting.
Did not dress. Today, we're recording this right after the match. Today would have been the exact day a year ago that she played her last match. It was
Interesting.
it was April 13th was the last match that she played before that following week she injured herself in training. Um, so I think it would have been poetic that she would get into the match exactly 1 year after the last match that she played. Didn't even dress. Thought it was a weird thing. I don't know if she just wasn't ready or if the medical staff didn't think she was ready or if uh, Lauren or the assistants didn't think she was ready. I don't know. Um, but I was really, really hoping, um, based on, them making the announcement, her talking to the media this week, I just thought she was ready. Like, let's go. She was off not only the season ending injury list, but even just off the injury report in general. Um, so I don't know what the decision was there, but I really, really would have loved to see Ava. Hopefully we see her next week. I would imagine in substitution for perhaps Julia if they continue to play Julia on that left side. Um, yeah, I I don't know. I don't know.
I
It was a big question mark for me why she didn't dress.
Yeah, it was very confusing. I'm excited though to have somebody like Ava back. It'll be nice. That'll just be another person getting healthy for Chicago. And I think as the season goes on and these players get more, well, we're getting healthier and they're going to get to learn to play together because Ava's going to have to figure all of this out, like on
Yeah,
field. Like I know they've all been practicing and
yeah.
whatever, but I think it's going to take some time. But yeah, I'm excited that people are getting healthy and I don't know. I'm just pumped. I'm very confused though why it was this big thing that, oh, she's here and she's off the report and now it's like, oh, she's not dressing. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was about. But hopefully she dresses next week. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, the last brace that Chicago scored was Ava Cook. I believe
And
she
now
has
it's Ludmila.
two braces in her career, and
Aren't they both against
was
Angel
against
City?
Angel City. Not playing Angel City next week though. We're playing Utah, so no advantages there in her mindset or her statistical career. But yeah, I'm excited to have her back. I'm excited for players to get healthy. Like we mentioned, hopefully Natu comes back soon. Hopefully Jenna Bike gets off that injury report as well soon. So almost the entire roster will be available for selection.
And we would assume that a lot of players, I don't know, MJ came in really late in this game. She played 3 games in a week's time, like pretty much all the minutes in
Scored
the
four
game.
goals.
Scored 4 goals, like was an absolute monster for the U17s. And so it makes me wonder if there was some sort of minutes restriction. And she's young, like you don't want to burn a kid out like that. And so I like that we subbed because we were talking about it in the Discord, and we're like, where are our time management subs here? We need to run some clock here. Like, let's
Yeah,
go. And
yeah.
finally, because Ludmila
Finally,
needed a sub 5 minutes prior to that at least, or if not 10.
yeah. I don't know. Around like I don't know, 80th minute, she was done. Maybe even the 70th, 75th. Like you could tell that there were times where she was receiving the ball and instead of like turning and gunning it like she usually does, she was like waiting for everyone to come to her and she's like, all right, who can I distribute this to? Which is not very much like her. She's usually just run and gun. So to watch her hold up play was different. You could tell that she did not have the gas to book it down the field anymore. She had enough to make those effort plays that we talked about late, which is wonderful. You love to see that kind of effort in a close match. But they definitely needed to sub her much earlier than what was it, like the the
It
93rd
was
minute,
it was
94th
something
minute,
ridiculous.
something
I don't
like
even
that.
know.
The other two subs, we mentioned Hannah Anderson coming in for Sam Staub in the 75th minute, and then Shea replaced Meese pretty early, which was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, Meese was gone during the international break, but the U23s didn't play any matches or anything, so that was surprising that she only got like 70 or 65 minutes in this match. And then Leilani Nesbith came in um, for Allie. So like they subbed, but they didn't use like their usual subs. I don't think Shay made a whole lot of impact. I don't. Her as a right winger just feels really weird to me. I don't think she's built for that kind of play. Obviously, she's more of a midfielder than anything. Uh, right wing, I don't think is really her position.
I thought
Um,
she'd come in for Allie, to be completely honest, if I was gonna
yeah,
sub
if
somewhere.
I was
Yeah.
gonna put anybody centrally for Allie, I would pick Shay. Um, and if I was gonna bring in someone for Meese, I would have picked MJ. So I, I
I mean,
understand probably minutes restriction, but
I don't mind her coming in for Ludmila, but I would have probably brought in like maybe Cat Berry
sure.
instead.
I
Like,
that's what I
yeah,
expected when we were all sort of talking about it in the community, like um, whether or not Ludmila was going to come out of this game, and people were talking about wanting to see MJ and stuff. I was thinking like, but like sent for like a central player, I would rather see Cat Berry. Like,
yeah.
and then when MJ came in, it was like, well, it's garbage time anyway, so it's
Right.
not
There's like
like,
2 minutes left in the
yeah,
game. I'm like, wah wah.
it's not like you need to have like the right players for the right offensive position and in that kind of situation. So, it didn't have to be Cat. But if they had subbed Ludmila uh, in like the 80th minute or something, I would have expected Cat over MJ. Um, and then I think probably the amount of minutes that MJ got in those U17 matches contributed to her not coming in early into this match. So it's not that big of a surprise. This is the first time that we've seen Leilani since last season because she was on the injury list for I think an illness to begin this season. She was on the bench for Louisville, and now she got the minutes here. And then, as we mentioned before, Hannah Anderson comes in for Sam as she's done twice this season now, three times this season, something like that. Because I think Hannah got the start 2 weeks ago, last week. I don't remember. She started at one point.
I think she started last week.
I don't know. I kind of forget the starting lineups by the time the
Well,
following week
they
shows
keep
up.
changing them, so it's so hard to
Yeah.
remember. And it's not like just one change, it's multiple, so it's
hmm
confusing.
And we
But
talked about this last season a lot too. I think there was like one time, like three-quarters of the way through the season, that they put out the same starting lineup that they had the last week, and it was like that. It was like headline news. It was like breaking news. They started the same exact players in the same exact formation for the first time this season. Like what what a, what a
oh
crazy
yeah,
crazy bit of news.
I'll be very interested to see if they do change it next week. And the only thing I could see it changing is if Fuika's ready to go. But again,
Yeah,
we don't know. That would be the only thing. But I'm assuming that we'll see Michaela more next week. I
I
think we'll
think the
see her
subs
sub
will
in with more
probably
time.
change. Yeah. I don't know if the starting lineup would. There's obviously plenty of players in the starting lineup that are locks. There's not, um, it's only like, three or four different positions that kind of change each week. So against Utah, which is a team that's lower on the table than
They don't have a
Chicago,
win. I mean,
they don't
geez,
have
all
a
these teams,
win.
who doesn't have a win these days?
Let's change the narrative. Yeah, we were not going to, obviously, you and I, people know who we are. We're not going to come in here and be like, Chicago got a win. Let's all be happy. And we're going to go to the championship. Um,
Well, obviously we
like
are.
this, this team is not, this team is not, um,
They're not
a,
currently. a playoff team, to be completely
No,
honest.
they're not even a whole lot different than the last 2 weeks that they've played. Um, it's just there was some things that really worked out in their favor when it came to Mies and Ludmila, and then defensively they've improved a little. It doesn't hurt that Bay hasn't been the most offensive prowess team this season. They did not they're not living up to the expectation. I even thought that Bay would be much better. You and I, speaking of next week, uh, even talked about Utah hopefully being better this season than they were last season, and they're not. It's a bit of a shock to me. I don't know what's going on over there, but it doesn't seem.
But keep doing
But keep doing it.
it.
Yeah, I thought like Ali Sentnor, incredible player. Obviously, a lot of people are starting to really get to know her when she is with the national team now sometimes, and it's like a player like that at the end of last season with Utah really they really like found themselves around her, and it really was working out for them. And then this season, I just thought they would build on that. And she just looks not, whatever's around her is not conducive to her style of play right now. And hopefully that doesn't change come Friday. But after Friday, I hope it does, because I do think that Ali Sentnor deserves a lot more of a better team around her than a 14th placed team.
Yeah. I'm shocked at how they've started the season. I thought they were going to be a playoff contending team. And because they made a lot of moves this offseason, and
Yeah, tons.
they've had some injuries. As we know, Tatum Milazzo went there, uh, tore her ACL, so she's not going to be playing.
She was training as a
And
center back in the preseason, and not like the three back center back like we know Tatum. She was like playing the four back center back that we've seen a couple of times from her. So I thought that was interesting that they were going to utilize her in that aspect instead of on the outside. But yeah, she tore her ACL, is out for the remainder of the season. So yeah, Utah doesn't have a whole lot going for them right now.
yeah, Paige Monahan is out. Chloe Lacasse is out. They've got several out. I'm probably missing some. I'm just
There's
thinking off the top of
tons.
my head.
Yeah,
Um,
Olivia Griffiths is out, maternity leave. Chloe Lacoste season ending. Alex Loera season ending injury. Tatum Milazzo season ending. Paige Monahan's out. Uh, Kaylee Real is out. Mina Tanaka is out. Like they got some players dealing with some stuff.
yeah, Tanaka got hurt playing in during the international break, and so I will be curious health status for this upcoming game. Obviously, I don't want people to be hurt, but that would be okay if she couldn't play in the game against us.
You and I always have a very different mentality than that, because I'm always of the mentality that I would rather play teams
I'd
at their
love to
at
play a
their
team that's so good, but I mean,
at their fullest.
I just would like to get another win, and if it would
Sure,
make
sure,
it just
sure.
a minuscule easier not having a very talented player like Tanaka.
Yeah.
But obviously, I don't wish anybody to have a lingering injury or anything like that. So I just am being selfish and saying you could just take another week off and just make sure that you're at
Yeah,
100%.
and Tanaka has been their best player this season. I don't know exactly if I think she scored one goal. They signed BSG, Bianca St. George, late in the offseason, and then she came in and made an immediate impact in the first game that she played, but she's been kind of quiet since. So I don't entirely know what they're going to look like come Friday. A couple of those, or at least one player, maybe two, could come off that injury list. I don't know the statuses of them, but right now they look as they don't look good, and Chicago looks a little better than they usually do. So hopefully the trend continues and Chicago can hold on.
Well, I also think that the front line needs to be hyper aware of Mandy McGlynn and the ball at her feet. She likes to kind of mess around with the ball a little bit, has been caught in bad situations doing that. So jump on it, get on it. Jamise, I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
Make that happen because I think that there are opportunities to be had there. And so that's the one thing Emma Hayes seems to like players that play with the ball at their feet, and I don't like it myself. It makes me nervous, and McGlynn's done numerous times when she was playing for the US. There were a lot of errors made there, so I think it would be important for the Chicago players to really be hyper aware of that. I mean, I even get nervous when Alyssa's doing that because that is not Alyssa's strong
no,
suit.
it's probably the
Um,
worst
and
aspect of her game.
and it gives me anxiety. And I think we ended up scoring a goal off of us playing it out of the back today. I think one of them, I think
I'd have
was
to go
us. And
back and look.
we broke the line. It was that or we got a shot off. I can't remember what, it was one of the two. And it was a very risky play that ended up we broke the line. And so when we broke the line, then we got out. But I was like, oh, if that didn't go the other way, that would not have been good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Alyssa's distribution with her feet, not fantastic. Her distribution with her arms, incredible.
Yes.
Very, very opposite sides of the spectrum, that one. So when we're playing out of the back, when she's distributing it with her arms, I'm cool with.
Yes, yes.
uh,
Really talented player, obviously. Love Alyssa,
yeah, of
but
course.
playing out of the back
Nobody's
with her feet,
perfect.
not great. Not good. Don't like it.
Nobody's super perfect. So, but she's close.
But yeah, so we'll see what they do against Utah. So
Yep.
I'm excited. I'm hoping that we can maybe get a shutout.
That would be wonderful. Finally, a team uh lower than us on the table that we're
Yes,
playing.
we can
So that
officially say that.
you can officially
And
say that.
that is why I asked that question in the Discord, by the way. I thought we were going to win this game. I
Did you?
really did. That is why I asked the question the way I did. That's why I said, if we were to win, but we would tactically stay the same, would you be happy? Because we won.
Mm.
That's why I asked that because I honestly did think that we were going to win, and people are gonna be like, "Well, you never said that." No, I didn't officially say that, but in my heart, I really did. I thought at the worst we were going to get a draw. I just felt like this was
Yeah.
the game.
I was feeling like 0-0 draw. That's kind of where I was sort of sitting, or like a 1-0 loss. That's where I was kind of sitting with it. Like I said, closer to like the Houston and Louisville matches, same tactics, but not but similar results. But it worked out this week. Um, I'm happy in the moment. I'm happy that I get to come on to this podcast and actually talk about, the positives that I saw without having to, hear back that, you know, it was a loss. So what are you talking about positives for? Um,
We get that a lot.
yeah. But it's fine. I don't care. I I like to remain positive. Obviously I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go to the opposite side uh of the thought process and just say that I'm oblivious to the problems, because there are plenty of problems, but I'm not going to be someone who's all doom and gloom about everything and just making you come here and listen to us for an hour talk about the same horrible things every week. I would not do that to you. I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to do that to Liz. So
No, it's not been fun. I sent LT a message before. I'm like, if we lose, I don't want to go on here and talk and say the same thing that we've been saying for weeks
yeah,
and
we
weeks
would
and
have
weeks.
been grasping for positives. Is what we would have been doing.
So we didn't have to this time. And so I'm very happy for that, which I feel like I
Yeah.
was actually more negative on this one than I have been in the last like multiple episodes, but
I
it's
think
fine.
it's I think it's easier to I think it's easier to point out the problems when they're contrasted with the the positives of a match. When you're just sitting there like listening to negatives over and over again, you're not really learning anything. You're not really um I mean, either of us are not really even saying anything. Like whatever we're saying in anyone's head is just, loss, 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 loss. Like this is why they lost. This is why they lost. But when you hear that they won, but there's, still negatives to talk about, at least you can, go back and look and see that even in a win, you can find and see the parts of the game that still need to really be improved without just looking at that W and saying that this team's now fantastic. Like
It was a perfect game.
it,
32% possession.
possession's not everything.
It's
I, I
everything.
think your nine shots is
64% pass accuracy.
I think those two are a little more a little more telling than the possession rate. But yeah, that
Yes, all
it's
bad.
yeah. So yeah, I hope that you can listen this week and at least get um a little more about like what we're sort of talking about when it comes to the positives of this team. Because what we saw today in the positives were things that we've talked about all week, needing Ludmila to sort of find herself, um, needing a midfield player that can sort of
Just leave it at that. Needing a
control that,
midfield.
needing a midfield player. Yeah, so like when you get those things, you start to see more of those positives, and I think it's beneficial to the entertainment value of soccer, but also just looking at it more in a technical sense as well. Which also, if you're my kind of person and Liz's kind of person, that's the only brain we have is the is the technical tactic
Try to be.
junk.
We try. I try.
Yeah,
But yeah, now it's going to be a short turnaround though because they play
yeah,
Friday.
they play Friday. That's going to be tough. Sunday to Friday. They play at 8:30 Central Time. It's on NWSL Plus, I believe. It is not one of the what is it, Amazon Friday night
Amazon Prime.
matches. Yeah,
I honestly don't know. There's 3 games on Friday night and they all start
it
an
is
hour
NW.
apart from each other.
It is NWSL Plus. At the very least, I know that it's not the
Yeah.
Amazon one.
I don't
So
know which one it is, but there's 3 games again because why would the league not have 3 games all start an hour apart from each other? But that's a whole nother thing.
yeah,
Anyway.
that's a discussion for an off season episode.
But yeah, so that's gonna be tough because it's away, obviously. They were at Bay, and then to go back to Chicago and then uh yeah, have a game Friday is rough. So
Yeah,
hopefully
because then they got
rest
to
those
go
legs.
right back to Utah or whatever.
Yep.
So, ugh.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
rough. It's gonna be a rough week, but hopefully they can improve and everybody is healthy and Ludmila keeps on
keeps on keeping
being
on.
Ludmila.
Yeah. Make sure that you are subscribed to our channels across all the podcast platforms, YouTube. If you enjoy our content, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like so others who enjoy and love this club or want to learn more about this club can find our content. Don't forget to join our Discord, match chat every single week, every single match. Everyone's always in there chatting away. It's a good time. Go to redstarsreport.com. Keep up with the news, more opinion pieces between the episodes. We'll be back next week. We'll recap that Utah match, and we'll see you next week for another Red Stars Report.